All right, welcome to the Snowflake Sports Podcast. It is 9:09 Eastern Standard Time on September 22nd, and I am joined once again by the West Coast phenom, Joe Crespo. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I got home from work sort of recently, but I'm ready to talk some sports.
Right, and we've got a ton of it going on now with the NBA and NFL both back in swing. We're gonna still focus more on the NBA just because that's more exciting at the moment. And we're going to talk about the Clippers debacle, more focusing on Paul George's speech and just kind of see where they go from here. Then the Lakers-Nuggets matchup and how that's been going, Celtics Heat, and then Billy Donovan signing to the Chicago Bulls after, at least I completely forgot that he did not get an extension with OKC, even though leading that team to a playoff bid. And we're going to talk about the NFL, talk about my Bills and his Pats, plus all the injuries that are happening this week. And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away, sadly, on Friday, which has kind of led to a huge mess as well. All right, so Paul George had this speech after Game 7. He's kind of imploring the team to stay together, run it back to chase another championship. This was supposedly met with some eye rolls and general dismay with because he had a terrible Game 7 performance.
Horrible.
Yeah, him and Kawhi did not. They didn't score a single point, right? It wasn't just like they didn't hit a field goal. They got literally 0 points.
I believe so. I know Paul George for sure didn't score at all in the fourth quarter of Game 7. I don't think Kawhi did either, but maybe he made a basket here and there. I don't know. But they basically, they shit the bed in that Game 7 when it was very important.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so this offseason, so Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Morris, and Reggie Jackson will be free agents this offseason. I think if Patrick Patterson is still on their team, I think he's one, but that's not really a big deal.
I believe
really.
so too. Yeah. But the three you mentioned, those are important.
Yeah, exactly. I guess just in general, what do you think of like Pandemic P's like speech?
Pandemic P. Oh man, I've never heard that one before, so that's new. I like that.
Yeah. Did not come up with myself. I forget where I got it. But.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, so from what I heard about it, Paul George at the end of the game after they lost Game 7 to the Nuggets and got kicked out of the playoffs was basically like, all right, guys, like, we'll come back next year. Let's work hard. Let's do it, and we'll make a run next year. And everybody was like, man, like kind of not feeling it. And from what I saw about it, it was mostly probably due to his super poor performance. Like he did basically nothing that game, and in the fourth quarter scored nothing. So he kind of like brought them down. And how do I feel about that? I mean, I think that's sort of normal though for after a game where, I mean, they were not presumptive champions, but they were supposed to make it to the conference finals, potentially the finals and win it all. So they had a lot of expectations as a team, and they have a lot of good players. I mean, they have Kawhi, who I don't want to say single-handedly, but because he definitely not single-handedly did it, but last year he elevated the Raptors to a championship team, and he did a lot of work, and they had championship aspirations and fell flat. They didn't even make it to the conference finals. So, I mean, after a Game 7 like that, where you're up 3-1 in the series and you lose, of course everybody's going to feel deflated, and Paul George I'm not going to say he was wrong for trying to lift everyone's spirits, but it's probably the wrong time to try to do that, like right after the game, be like, hey man, let's just get it next year. Like everybody's just feeling bummed. So I could totally see where the reaction to his so-called speech, where that came from and why they felt that way.
Yeah, it would have also been just one thing if he played really well and then kind of said something like that, but he just didn't. And I just feel like Paul George isn't really like some rah-rah, like let's go get him kind of player. Like, I feel like he does kind of align with the Kawhi and just, like, letting the game speak for himself. So I don't really see him coming up with, like, good sayings or just corralling the locker room. Plus, like, you just got, like, you were up 3-1. You were up, like, 14 in Game 2 and 16 in Game... Or not Game 2. 14 in Game 5, 16 in Game 6, I believe. It just, like, blew it. I believe this game they were up, or Game 7 they were up by a bunch and also blew it. So it's just, like... I don't think anyone in that locker room at that presence wanted to hear really anything. Like, if you just kind of were quiet and just went away, like, I think that would almost be better. But, like, also, he is showing some effort, like, to show that, like, he wants to be here. He wants to, like, run it back with his team, obviously, because he's on contract next year. But I just think if you just look at him giving the speech, it almost guarantees that, like, at least he's going to sign that player option in the third year, especially with all the how bad this one went. Like, they were at least supposed to, like you said, at least supposed to make the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, for sure.
And if not the finals, but like this is an absolute bust. And I don't know. At least with them staying, I don't really see them leaving Los Angeles because they're both from there. I think they want to stay there for their whole basketball careers. So. Like, I don't really see them leaving, and people I feel like are just, like, kind of shitting on the trade. And it would have been really interesting to see if if the Clippers originally were just like, no, and just tried to get Kawhi without all those players and trying to, like, be like, oh, SGA's good, you know, like, we still got Gallinari. But, I don't know, you're the Clippers, like, I feel like you can't, they've just been the laughing stock of the NBA for so long that, like, you can't hope that Kawhi still comes. And, like, what if he goes to the Lakers? Like, you think that Kawhi doesn't really care about, like, public perception, so he wouldn't mind creating this super team. I don't know. So, just a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely.
So out of those three, the Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Morris, and Reggie Jackson, do you think they could sign all three? Do you think, like, 2 out of 3, who would you want to stay?
I think Montrezl Harrell would be a good player to keep for sure. He's a big guy. He played pretty well in these playoffs too. Like he was a pretty good piece for them. Marcus Morris was a starter, put in a lot of good minutes for them. I mean, this dude was like knocking down threes at some points. Like, holy shit, this guy was draining them. Like, yeah. I mean, obviously Marcus Morris, good player. He's just a little older. Like he could still, he's not like super old. So they would have to definitely take into account his cap hit, though. I think that would be a big issue with re-signing Marcus Morris. I mean, this year he had a 1-year deal for $15 million, which isn't anything to like scoff at, you know.
Yeah.
Presumably he's going to hit the free agent market with his how well he's played in the bubble, and you know, look for a lot more money than that. So I don't know if Marcus Morris stays, just more so because of the cap number that he might incur. Montrezl Harrell, though, like I said, I think he's a good player. He's still pretty young. He's a big man. He played pretty well as well. I think they could keep him and develop him more, and he could be a key piece as well. And you said Reggie Jackson?
Yeah. Reggie.
Right. I don't really know much about Reggie Jackson. He didn't play too much, did he?
No. I mean, honestly, he's been more prolific in like as like a Piston player on like this like kind of fringe playoff team kind of thing.
He's like, probably just there for depth, right?
Yeah.
Like a depth guy.
So I pretty much agree with you though. Like they gotta sign Trez. Just like him and his connection with like Lou Williams is just kind of unreal. And like if you let him go, you can't really. Then you're gonna depend a lot more on Zubac, and I just don't think he could play 30 minutes, you know, in a playoff game.
Yeah.
And then like Marcus Morris, I just feel like he fits this team well too. He's just like a 3-and-D kind of player that could just kind of switch on anyone. So I don't think they want to really shy away from that. And like what everyone said all year is like, oh, they're so deep, they're so deep. So if they lose their depth, I feel like that's gonna really hurt them.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And then Reggie Jackson, I just feel like they can kind of let go, or like it's like, hey, if you want to sign, like a $5 million deal, like we'll do that. But they already have Lou, they already have Patrick Beverly, so it's just kind of like pointless to have like a third point guard that like casual NBA fans know. Like at that point, you could just because they can't draft anyone because they don't have a first rounder to like 2027 or whatever.
Oh yeah, they traded like everything for Paul George, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So mortgaging their future for now and then get knocked out in the second round.
Yeah, so the Nuggets. Though the Nuggets did play incredible. No.
Oh, they did. Them. And they came back from 3-1. Like it wasn't like they would just got like ran over or anything. It was competitive, but definitely unexpected.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I feel like if they lose Reggie Jackson, that's really nothing. Like Marcus Morris would be like, pretty disappointing, but like you just have to sign Trez. Like I don't care if you have to break the bank. I don't think you will. Like you shouldn't give him a max, but you should. I don't know, like 17 to 20 maybe, which is it does seem pretty high, but like you just can't let him go. And I feel like their team needs enthusiasm. Like they need more like Beverly players. And I think Trez is kind of like one of them. That gets them like riled up. There's like that's important, like the whole soul part of like a team. I think he's got it.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I'm just kind of disappointed, and I bet you are too, living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That like Clippers Lakers just never happened.
That was the whole expectation leading up to the playoffs. I mean, in March when the season got suspended, no one knew if they were gonna play the rest of the season, and it was like, damn. Like I'm a LeBron fan, right? I like LeBron a lot, so I'm kind of rooting for the Lakers. But also I like the Clippers. Like Kawhi is cool. I don't think you could hate Kawhi, right?
No, unless you're a Spurs fan, that's really the only.
True. And I was actually a Thunder fan for a while because I really loved Westbrook. Really loved Durant, and then when Durant left, I was still like rooting for Westbrook and the team, and then Westbrook left, and I was like, I don't really care about them anymore. But when Paul George was on the team, I was like, let's go Paul George, let's go. Yeah. PG and Westbrook are gonna kill it, and then PG left, so I was like kind of like, okay, like PG and Kawhi, that's pretty cool. And in LA, I live in LA, like I can't hate that team, so
yeah.
I mean, I think it would have been a banger of a series, of course, and it would have been just like everybody in LA would have been going crazy for the games, and we kind of got robbed of that. I think everybody in the NBA got robbed of that, unless you just hate LA or the LA teams in general. Like I think everybody else though just got robbed of like a banger of a series in the conference finals, so that kind of sucks.
Absolutely. And hopefully by next year they'll be able to play games, like at stadiums, and depending on how, like even if it's like a quarter full, I feel like Staples Center will just be like a great place for these games. Like it would have been weird in the bubble. It's still weird now, especially when like AD hits that shot and it's just like 10 dudes just running on the court mobbing him instead of like 20,000 or however many fit at Staples Center. Like,
I mean, that would have been insane.
It would have been a ruckus.
it just would have been. You probably would have seen shit like thrown on the court and
just
people's
whole,
going
Kobe
like
thing
crazy.
Too. And like it just would have been wild. So yeah, speaking of the Lakers Nuggets, in that game 2 thriller, I guess what are your thoughts in general, just I guess on this series?
I mean, I think the Lakers stack up a lot better against the Nuggets than the Celtics do. I think they have a bigger team, and I mean, AD is just so good.
Yeah, he is.
Anybody who doubted AD going to the Lakers, I don't know if anybody did, but if you did, you were wrong. Yeah. AD is killing it, and LeBron is. I mean, after the break that he got last year for not making the playoffs, and just, I guess, a little break for the bubble, like between the suspension of the season and the start of the bubble, that probably helped him get some more rest. Like, he's been killing it too. Alex Caruso is a dog.
Oh yeah.
For anybody that isn't paying attention, he is a dog. Like, he is just a defensive masterpiece. He's doing some insane things on defense for them. I don't know. I mean, I think that game 2 was a little closer than most people would imagine. But I just think the Lakers are just too good to lose to the Nuggets, and I mean, they've seen the Jazz and the Clippers both drop 3-1 leads to this Nuggets team already this playoffs. So I think seeing that as an example, they're not going to want to, like, they're not going to take their foot off the pedal, you know. They're just going to use that and be like, hey, we're one series away from the finals. We just got to beat this team and we're in the finals. Like, we can't let up. So I think that's really good motivation for them to beat the Nuggets. And I mean, the Nuggets are obviously very good team. Jokic is playing out of his mind. Jamal Murray is playing really well, but I think their issue is that they're not as deep as the Lakers are, and that definitely hurts. Obviously, you know, when the starters are off, you got the bench in, and they're not scoring points for you. It makes it really tough to win. So I think the Lakers just are a better team in general. I'm pretty sure they're gonna win. I mean, I think they're playing right now, right?
Yeah, they should be.
As we speak.
As we're talking.
Yeah.
Watch the Nuggets just destroy the Lakers. But,
yeah. But like you can't count out Denver, especially based on the past 2 series. I just think the Lakers are just a better team, honestly.
Yeah. Though I'd argue, I think the Nuggets are deeper than the Lakers. Like, I don't really. Yeah, I just think the Lakers are playing better defensively, like, as a group. Like, Kyle Kuzma's defense is, like, surprisingly really well. And they've really, like, cut those, like, because Denver loves to run those, like, backdoor cuts that, like, Jamal Murray and then, like, Jokic does those, like, behind-the-back passes or no-look passes.
Oh, yeah.
And just, like, a layup. I think they've really cut that out. And like you said, Caruso has just been incredible. And Caruso's one of those players that I thought, like, NBA Twitter was overrating. And then, like, I would focus on Caruso. I was like, oh, this guy's, like, actually good. Like, people are, they're not, like, overhyping him.
He's good.
And what was it? And Rondo is playing, like, unbelievable? Or it's just, like, the playoff Rondo thing again. And I don't know how many times you have to see this. Like, he did this with the Pelicans when he swept the Blazers. Like, he always did this with the Celtics back in the day. It's just, they're, like, those 4 guys, are great, and it's just weird. It's weird when they say, like, oh, we're going small, and it's like 80s at center, and LeBron, like, how massive he is now, is at the 4. Like, I don't think that's not small to me. Like, the Rockets are small. Like, when the Raptors play, like, OG at the 5, like, that's small ball. Like, this is, like, a normal team.
Yeah, I mean, because how big is, like, is Draymond? Because wouldn't he play the 5 when the Warriors went small?
Yeah, I feel like he's gotta be like 6'8", right? Maybe
right, and
6'6".
But AD is like a legit center, you know. So like that, him playing center, that's not really going small. LeBron at the 4, he's like 6'8". He's not. That's not really going small. They can just shoot, right? They're just shooters. They can hit it from anywhere. So, I mean, that's a big strength of theirs, definitely.
Yeah, except Danny Green's been kind of iffy. KCP has been like weirdly okay at shooting.
KCP started the bubble like not too well, right?
Like,
and then he's kind of like been on and off here and there, but I think lately he's been doing pretty decent.
Yeah. But also just this game too was just like such a deja vu thing for the Nuggets because they were down by like 16 in the third and they cut it all the way to like 4 by the end of the third. And there's just like a wire-to-wire finish. Jokic like backed down 80 very easily. Though I thought it was weird that because they got the ball I think with like 26 seconds left, and they threw it to Jokic and he he does those like backs down AD in like 6 seconds and makes that shot. It's like, oh, there's way too much time. And the Lakers, they get like Caruso this wide open three. I was like, oh, that's going in. It like he breaks that. I think Danny Green ends up getting the rebound, and then that gets blocked, and then and then AD shoots his shot that goes in. It's just like they got 3 shots out of that. So it's like if they wasted more time, but then again, like they got a great look, and at the end of the day, like you want to score like a bucket. That's better than not doing it or just shooting some contested Jamal Murray 3. And that's just, I just feel like that's heartbreaking because if this was going like 1-1, you could be like, oh, like they could put up a good fight. But it almost seems like they might win 1, maybe 2. But then again, you can't say that with this team because they've just come back twice from 3-1.
Exactly.
And they could really do anything. Like you can't.
Exactly. Like they came back from 3-1 against like the past 2 series. So like you can literally never count this team out until the final buzzer with the 4th game if the Lakers win the series. You know, like you can't count this team out. They're always gonna fight up to the end, and you know that's what makes it exciting. For
sure, absolutely. And I guess just with the Lakers too in this game, that like LeBron James was just so on, like he could not miss a single shot in the first half, and then AD just kind of carried it in the second half. And it's just crazy to look at, like, because I think their box score, like, I forget, I think AD had like 30 or something, LeBron had like 27 or whatever. Like the next highest Laker was like 11. I think like KCP had 11 or something. And it's just weird not seeing like another like 20 or just like a third offensive guy, which I guess you would assume would be Kuzma. Maybe Danny Green if he's hitting from 3, or like even like a Caruso every now and then. But they're just not really getting that, and then they're still fine. Like they're still playing top-notch defense. They're really not letting up any good looks in the paint or like the restricted area. And I just feel like when Jamal Murray only scores like 25, like that's a win if you're playing the Nuggets. Just don't let him get like the 40, though he probably will at least 1 point in this series.
Probably.
Yeah, kudos to Denver though, just getting this far. I felt like people always hyped Portland last year for making the conference finals. I was like, all right, they beat like OKC, who has never done good in a playoff series without KD, and then like I guess a younger Denver team that's never really been tested. And it's like the way the Nuggets got here was just so much more difficult. Like a legitimate Utah team that was playing unbelievably in those like first 4 games, and then this Clipper team that was like supposed to go to the finals, perhaps. So I don't know. Shout out to them. If it ends before I record again next week, I am very proud of this team, I guess.
I mean, they definitely put on a show and show that they can contend, if anything, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And they'll be around forever since their whole team is young.
Super young.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Celtics Heat. So, game 2 happens. The Heat won, so they were up 2-0, and then there was this huge feud between. It was definitely Marcus Smart, and supposedly it was Jaylen Brown. Just yelling at each other. Supposedly there were things thrown out in the locker room, according to Shams. And basically, and I wish I had like a podcast before, I was just like, okay, this is probably good for the Celtics. Just because they'll be more enthused, they'll come out, they'll want to win the next game, and like obviously they come out and they do. They got Gordon Hayward back, which was definitely a plus for them. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on like the feud, just like the series in general.
Well, one of my best friends is a Heat fan, and he hates the Celtics. He actually went to college in Boston, and he hates the Celtics.
Yeah.
Cause
that's not good.
He's been a Heat fan for like forever too, since like 2004 or some shit. But I don't know. He's been really happy about it. I don't really care about this Celtics team. I just love this Heat team. Like
Yeah.
they're awesome. They I mean they 4-1 the Bucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's it.
Yeah.
Like that is
Adebayo,
mind
man.
blowing.
Yeah.
They 4-1 the Bucks, who in the Eastern Conference, I mean, they were the team that everybody was like, yeah, they'll probably make the finals, right? Like, if you had to choose a team, they were probably the best team, and they would probably make the finals, and they 4-1 them. You know, given it is the bubble, but I mean, nonetheless, you can't really discount it just by saying it's the bubble, though, I guess. So, um, Giannis did get hurt. Okay, but anyways, let's get back to the Heat. The Heat, very good team, very well coached. I like Eric Spoelstra. I've always liked him since the LeBron days with the Heat. And I just love the way they're playing. I mean, they play a pretty unselfish game. They got lots of players that can score. Bam Adebayo, that block in the first game
Oh yeah.
to seal the
Ooh.
win, that was pretty insane.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
that was hype. I really, that was so fun to see, and like damn, I don't know. And Jimmy Butler is showing everybody that he's the man,
Yeah.
that he can do it all. You know,
Yeah.
he's just playing really well. I mean, they got a lot of pieces, and they're looking really strong. And the Celtics, on the other hand, they obviously look really good. They have a really good, really young team, and they did win Game 3 after the Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown thing. So I guess you could say maybe that worked. Maybe that helped the team. Maybe it helped like fuel the fire for them to win the next game. I just this is an exciting series. I mean, I like the Heat, and I hope they win. They're looking good. I hope it goes to like 6 games though, 6 or 7. Like I want to see this series like draw out, and I want to see these teams play their best and fight till the end. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I think the Celtics will at least test it to 6. I picked the Celtics in 6 before this,
Mm-hmm.
and the Heat just kind of look better right now, and I don't know, they just seem to click more.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I don't know, the Celtics definitely click, but it's just like the way the Heat like made their pieces come together, and like it's just like, oh, we got this like B-rated all-star, and just kind of surrounded him with good 3-point shooters. Like it totally worked for them. And like they play this zone that like Toronto did in the series before, but they're just like way more effective with it. And I think they put like their forwards up top. So like Jimmy and I don't think it was Adebayo, but like Jay Crowder. So they had more length like up top, which just like threw them off. And then like obviously like NBA teams don't play zone the entire time. Like it's not Syracuse or something.
Yeah.
So then they like switch off it, and it just kind of throws them off their game. I think the Celtics will get used to this. Um, but like they didn't really get used to it against Toronto. They won Game 3, but they didn't really shoot too well. Um, and but I don't know. I feel like these teams are just so evenly matched. They play great defense. They're both well coached. It's hard to say who. Well, probably Jimmy Butler's the best player in this series. So I feel like you gotta tilt it towards the Heat. Though like Jason Tatum is just like right there with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know. This Game 4 is going to be huge though, because
Oh yeah.
like Zach Lowe was saying this on the Low Post that I listened to today, but like there's nothing like a Game 4 because it's just so important to the team that's down a game. But like if you're up, like if you have the 2 wins, like you could pretty much put the series to bed unless you're playing the Nuggets, going up 3-1. So it'll be wild. We haven't really seen a crazy Jimmy game though, so it would be nice to see like a 40-point, like him yelling at like a jumbotron or something. Like I stand for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, any other Celtics Heat talk? Or
No, I thought that was a great point that you said though with game fours. Who said that? Zach Lowe.
Zach Lowe, yeah.
That's so true because I mean Miami's up 2-1. If they win, they're up 3-1. You're on game point or match point. You know, if Boston wins, they tie it up and it's 2-2. It's basically a best out of three after that. So
yeah, exactly.
Like that's it. This game is very important, and it sucks that it doesn't start until tomorrow. And the last game was on Saturday. Like that's like, do you know why they made that?
So
yeah,
I think they were saying that they wanted it to match up with the Western Conference, so they didn't want the Eastern Conference to be done and then like the Western Conference go to 6 or 7, and they had like a week off. Because they're already on game 4, and tonight is Lakers Nuggets game 3, so it kind of evens it out at that point.
Okay.
And my guess too is they just didn't want to line up with Monday Night Football, so you get better ratings or something. I don't know if that helps revenue for like advertisements or anything.
That makes sense.
So
that makes sense. I was just like, damn, I was looking forward to the game 4, and then saw that it didn't start until Wednesday, and I was like, wait, what?
You didn't watch the Raiders game with your brother?
I did. I watched some of it. I watched like the second half, and it was it's pretty wild. He was very happy.
They won. I was shocked.
Man. And Drew Brees couldn't throw past like 5 yards or something.
Yeah. It's wild. Him and Brady don't look too hot. But we'll talk about football in just a brief second. But Billy Donovan signed with the Chicago Bulls today. I don't think I have a number. You don't know like the actual like time or price?
No, I don't have any. I didn't see anything like that. I just saw that he got signed.
Yeah. Great signing for the Bulls, I think. They're a young team. Like obviously Billy Donovan does better with like younger teams, being like the coach for University of Florida way back when. I was kind of shocked that OKC didn't keep him because they also have a pretty young team, except for like Chris Paul, and I feel like Gallinari, he could walk this offseason. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird that OKC just let him go. Didn't want to extend him or anything. I just thought they played so well this year. Like their expectation was not to make the playoffs, and they did. They went to 7 against the Houston Rockets, who, like, I know people are joking that people think they're bad because they got killed by the Lakers, but this is a team that like almost beat the Warriors, like the super team Warriors, not too long ago. So I just feel like it's strange for OKC, but like great for the team, great for the Bulls. I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
I don't know. I didn't really have much thoughts, but the way you say that is true. That Billy Donovan this year, I mean, the Thunder way outperform expectations because no one thought that they were really gonna do anything, let alone make the playoffs, like and take the Rockets to 7 games. So I don't know. It's probably a good hire. Did you see Zach LaVine? I saw Zach LaVine. There was a video of him in his reaction to the Billy Donovan signing.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He was streaming on Twitch. I think he was playing Call of Duty or something.
Nice.
He was streaming on Twitch, and in the middle of it, like he's focused, and then he's like, "Oh, we just hired Billy Donovan. Oh, that's pretty cool."
Oh, that was it. He's just like, "Oh, nice."
He was like, "Yeah, oh, nice," or something like that.
That's great.
Like he said a couple other things, but his demeanor, he was just like, "Oh, okay."
Dude, I gotta get this kill. My KD, gotta keep it up.
Man. Yeah. I just thought that was hilarious.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Just the nonchalant kind of way. We just cares more about the video games.
That's like any game. I mean, I'm a gamer. I don't know if you play games, but that's pretty much how it is. When you're focused in the game, you're just like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty much his reaction the whole time.
Yeah. I've been more like casual games lately, more like 2K or
Mm.
um, we got this like Overcooked game for like my girlfriend, and
Oh,
we've
I
been
heard that's
playing
pretty
it.
good.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But it's not. I don't know. It's not like Call of Duty or like Overwatch or all
Not
more
at all.
hardcore
Not at all. Not
games.
at all.
All right, moving on to the NFL. All right, I want to talk about the Bills. Do you want to lead with the Pats or just what's been
Mm,
going on? Or
I might talk a little long if we talk about the Pats. Let's just you start with the Bills. We'll talk about the Bills because the Bills are at the top of the AFC East. They're 2-0.
oh
They're
yeah,
doing great.
let's
So you
get it.
can talk about the Bills first.
Yeah, okay. So Josh Allen, if you didn't see today, he is leading. He's the passing yards leader through 2 weeks, and he put a show on against the Miami Dolphins this week, throwing for over 400 yards for the first time ever, just after throwing over 300 yards for the first time the week before, which is kind of sad when you think about it. But he is only like a third-year quarterback. I just feel like this has been rare for Buffalo quarterbacks, especially with like Tyrod Taylor, like Fitzpatrick. Outside of like that 1 year they went 5-2, and then just like he got that extension and just kind of fell apart. But like with Josh, like he has an occasional bad throw. Like he had one where he missed like a wide open John Brown where he should have thrown like farther to the sideline. He threw it farther upfield. And then they literally, like, Dable just ran the exact same play, and he just hits John Brown for a touchdown.
Mhm.
And, like, okay, like, yes, it's the Dolphins. Yes, like, Byron Jones goes out early in the first quarter. Um, but, like, even without that, we haven't really seen Josh Allen just kind of dominate a team like that, like, when they needed to it. Because, like, the Bills, they didn't have Tremaine Edmonds. They didn't have Matt Milano, so their defense was pretty weak, especially in that like linebacker area. And for some reason, they had like Levi Wallace on Devontae Parker like most of the game, and Fitzpatrick just like kept going there. I'm just like, all right, why don't you put Tre'Davious like over there? I forget who Trey was even on, and it was just like, isn't Devontae Parker their best wide receiver?
Yeah,
Um,
he's the number one.
so I just thought that was weird from Frazier that he did that. And I don't know, they just look great. AFC East, um, they're currently winning in that first place. Let's get it. But this week they play the Rams. The Rams look like really good.
Yeah.
I'm not a Sean McVay fan. I don't understand the whole like we're gonna run the same like formation and that's just gonna work. Maybe I'm just dumbing it down too much, but they look fantastic, and I feel like because I've heard people say like Josh Allen is like the next coming of Jesus right now, and
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
like
Where are they from?
I wouldn't say next coming of Jesus, but I've heard people like MVP stuff, and I'm just like you gotta settle because it was the Jets and the Dolphins, like you gotta
I did see that
come.
he's like third like favored for MVP or something. But yeah, you're right. It was the Jets and the Dolphins. But I mean, Buffalo, it's been tough to be a Bills fan for decades.
Oh,
So,
for sure.
I mean, I I don't hate Buffalo. That's the thing. I hate the Jets and sort of I pretty much dislike the Dolphins. I don't want them to do well. But like Buffalo, I mean, I'm from Rochester, right? So I have a soft spot in my heart for Buffalo. So I don't feel bad about Buffalo being good and Bills fans feeling good about being 2-0 and atop the division. All I got to say though is how about Cam?
Oh, he looks so good.
Cam looks very good.
I remember.
I'm
Sorry.
loving this.
I had a draft with my like high school friends, and I remember at one point I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just picking Cam Newton," and like I also have Kyler Murray, and it's like, well, shit, like who do I play now? Like Kyler Murray, or Cam Newton, but yeah, he's like amazing.
Yeah, he's killing it, and the game plan is obviously completely different from what they had when Tom Brady was still in New England. Like it's insane. They're running so much power, like QB power, just like running it with him. Now the only thing that concerns me about his health, because he's been banged up a lot in the past few years, and that style of play he has a higher chance of getting hurt, running the ball a lot. But that Seattle game, I think he really, really showed out. He threw for like 370 yards. Yeah, I mean, that was insane,
Yeah.
It's just like, this dude is really showing that the rest of the league really shouldn't have passed him over.
Right. It's so frustrating because it's just like, it was the year the Patriots would be terrible, or at least just like not great. And then they of course they get Cam Newton on some incredible discount.
He's like the 40-somethingest paid quarterback
in
the league right now.
I think like Chase Daniel probably makes more money than Cam Newton.
There's a bunch of backups that make way more money than Cam, and it's insane.
Yeah.
And he's just killing it.
The NFL was very weird in quarterbacks last year because I felt like if you didn't have a good quarterback, you had like a young quarterback that you didn't want to mess up. And it's like people were not too high on Minshew coming in this year, and obviously he's balled out.
They're saying he's the worst quarterback, and it's and he's been proving them wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So
Pretty
it's just
crazy.
Like, I feel like you can't bring Cam in to like some situation where it's like a young quarterback and it's just like, oh, you got to compete with this like former MVP player. But I also just think that's kind of a load of shit. Like the Jets probably could have used him. Trying to think, maybe even like test it with the Rams. Or the Rams, I don't know.
You're saying Cam, like sign Cam?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Jared Goff isn't like doing that great. Maybe they run some power in LA.
I mean, everybody was saying the Bears. I mean, the Bears now, they're 2-0, right?
Yeah, they too are.
But they traded like a pick for Nick Foles.
And aren't even playing him.
And his contract is like 20-something million.
Yeah.
He's the backup.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, they could have just signed Cam for a little bit. He probably would have made more than the league minimum. I think he only got paid that because no one else wanted him, right? So the Patriots were like, hey, we got a contract. We'll give you incentive-laden contract, but you're guaranteed is like the minimum. I mean, they could have paid him like not even a lot of money and had Cam Newton. It made no sense, right? It made no sense. And it made no sense that no one else picked him up and that he was the Patriots basically grabbed him off the scrap heap and dusted him off and were like, former MVP, only like 31 years old? All right, we can do this.
Yeah. I also just wonder though, like it's obviously Cam has all the talent like in the world, but is it also just like this New England's organization, the whole like preparation, just like the whole demeanor of that team? I think that's really helping him too, because like
I think that's a big part of it.
Bears, I feel like they're not like a mess, but they're not like super elite in the NFL right now. So if he goes there, maybe he doesn't do that. Maybe he's not in the best shape, kind of thing. So
true. I think the Patriots also have like a pretty solid O-line. I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
They lost Ted Karras, right? He was a
but he was like a backup though that was forced to start because oh god, I can't remember our center's name, but he's
or something. Didn't he go too or no? Joe Thunney? I can't say.
Oh, Tooney? No, they franchised him this year.
Right. Okay, yeah.
They still got Shaq Mason. They still got Isaiah Wynn for left tackle. They lost Marcus Cannon because he opted out. I don't know who the right tackle, and so he would have been right tackle. I don't know who the right tackle is, but our center, I know his Instagram handle. It's Bear something, but that's not his name at all. Obviously,
it's not.
But he's
Bear?
A beast. He was the one where when Cam ran the ball in, he gave him the ball to Spike.
Oh yeah.
In the first game or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he he's really good. And last year he didn't play because he had something in his lungs, and they were like, it's not safe for you to play. And then
Oh damn.
he's back this year.
That's good though.
He's a beast. And
Nice.
so they do have a good O line. Maybe we should talk about the game, the Seattle game, a little bit.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it came down to the last play at the 1 yard line. They ran a QB power play and failed. The Seattle Seahawks got the best of them, which sucks. But I mean, I'm feeling great about this team, honestly. How are you feeling about the Patriots being a Bills fan? They're still showing that they're good.
I felt because it was like a minute ago. I'm just like, oh, that's nice that that player is healthy and can play, but it's just also just like, fuck the Pats. I hate this team. Like, why can they go away finally? Yeah, I mean they look good. I always thought if I had to pick someone who would win the AFC East, I still would have gone with the Patriots just because it's like I want them to fool me before I pick someone else and then they just win. Like I'd rather have that happen. It was kind of like in March Madness, I always picked Virginia to lose early just because even before they lost to the 16 seed, they were always a 1 seed that lost to a 4 seed or something. So, I mean, the Patriots look great. Cam Newton looks awesome. Julian Edelman's looking really good right now too. Their defense is kind of iffy, but the Seahawks are such an elite team this year, and they really shut down Miami pretty well. So they should still be good this year. So it's going to be a battle. It'll be fun. I think the first Pats-Bills game isn't until November though, which is kind of unfortunate.
That's late. November 1st. That's the first.
So, but the Seahawks game though, Russell Wilson 5 touchdowns, off of 20.
He carved up the defense.
Yeah, 21 completions. So it's just he got a touchdown for every 4-ish completions, which is just wild. And I actually did not watch this game just because I was super tired and just went to bed early. But from everything I'm hearing about the Seahawks is they're just letting Russell Wilson cook now. They're just letting him throw instead of this weird we're gonna run the ball on first down, we're gonna run for 3 straight plays and then punt kind of thing. And it's all right, Pete Carroll has finally listened to outside advisors, I guess, or just analysts, because that's what people have been saying for the past years or couple of years.
He is an elite quarterback. He is one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He throws a deep ball like no one else. Give him the ball. You're right. Just give him the ball.
Just let him do anything.
He can do no wrong. He's Jesus.
He is Jesus. He is the base god. We all hail the base god.
You saw Belichick basically called him the best player in the league before the game.
I did not. But
yeah, it was sometime last week. He got interviewed and they asked him about Russell Wilson and he basically said that Russell Wilson's the best player in the league. He didn't say it like that, but he was just kind of hinted at it.
Oh yeah, I mean he was he had to have been the runner-up last year. He had a fantastic year last year, at least for MVP race. But obviously he's the real deal.
The Seahawks are the real deal. Yes. I'm just happy, even though the Patriots lost. I'm just happy that Cam showed out and the Patriots played really well, and it came down to that one play. To me, I'm just that. It feels bad that they lost, but it feels good that they played so well against a team that everybody knows is a contender.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're absolutely a playoff team. And then once you get in the playoffs, if you just have preparation, you should do
Very
well.
True.
So, all right, and then just another notable thing in the NFL was the injuries, which is just kind of, I guess, sad. But So Nick Bosa is out with the torn ACL. Saquon Barkley's out with a torn ACL. Cortland Sutton's out with a torn ACL. Christian McCaffrey with a high ankle sprain. Drew Lock with a sprained AC joint. And then just other 49ers like Jimmy G, Raheem Mostert, Solomon Thomas.
Von Miller, too.
Oh, really? Damn.
Yeah, he hurt his ankle or something. He's going to be out for a while.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Denver's also screwed with this.
Basically.
Byron Jones is out. I feel like I'm forgetting a bunch too, but
that's the thing. There's so many players that have gotten hurt for like the season. It's insane. Like this year, it's only the second week, and I guess you could attribute that to the lack of preseason. I know some people are saying that the lack of preseason has really, hurt the overall or the long-term health of the players just because they haven't played any games, and then the off season was shortened because of COVID. So these guys are kind of playing, and they're just a little too fresh, Yeah. And they haven't fully adjusted to playing football full time. So, that could definitely be a contributor in the future. Maybe in the off season they'll say that maybe that the preseason's a good thing, because this whole off season was like the Players Association and all the players were demonizing the preseason, saying it's too long, it's too hard on them, blah blah blah. So maybe this just shows that the preseason's kind of necessary. Maybe not 4 games, but drop it down to like 2 games potentially. That could be a good idea, just to kind of warm these guys up, to get them prepared for the season and all this running and hitting.
Yeah. I just think with football, too, it's very hard to emulate that in practice, especially with the hitting and the contact. I just don't think. You're not trying to go all out, especially you're not trying to kill your quarterback. You're not trying to kill, your wide receivers or any of your skill players. So you're not really doing that until you go to a game you want to hit an opponent kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that starters play a couple halves or maybe even just a drive or two,
mm-hmm.
but that is important for them to develop these skills you need to be game ready. And I don't even know if it's the preseason or if it's just the training camp kind of OTA stuff that was just cut incredibly short, that everyone was just kind of conditioning and not really doing contact or anything. I think that was almost more detrimental than the preseason stuff.
Yeah, there's so many factors, of course, that play into why these players are getting injured so frequently, and it's only week 2 losing all these great players.
Right? Yeah, more could happen this weekend too.
Exactly.
It's still very early, which
kind of scary.
Sad, yeah. I just feel bad for Saquon because that dude could have made so much money, and now this is his first major injury, but he had I forget what it was last year where he was out for a bit. So it's just it's just another thing where it's oh, this running back is injury prone, we're not going to pay him. There's going to be a lockout or contract extension kind of thing. It's just if this dude just stayed healthy, he would have made so much more money, and it's just one of the unfortunate things of being a NFL running back.
On a rookie deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's awful. They need to fix that somehow.
They do.
All right, now moving over to RBG, Notorious RBG. So sadly, she passed away on Friday night due to pancreatic cancer. She was just a true icon to women everywhere, that you can do anything you put your mind to. She's been on the Supreme Court since 1993, becoming the second woman to serve the highest court after Sandra Day O'Connor. Before she served the Supreme Court, she was on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. Her most important judicial stances was against gender discrimination, abortion rights, and against search and seizure. When it came to a 13-year-old girl getting down to her bra in school to see if she had any drugs, basically what everyone's advocating for now with the whole how school is just like a pipeline to prisons, so that's just she's kind of just on the right side of that. I guess what were your thoughts? What was like going through your mind when this story broke?
So obviously, RBG the past like few months, she's had like a lot of ailments. She's been in and out of the hospital for different things. But what I didn't know too much about her, but what I did know was that she was kind of like a liberal bastion in the Supreme Court. And women, I know so many of my female friends just love her. Like when she passed away, just my feed, my Facebook, my Twitter feed was just full of friends and family, being extremely sad about it, and as they should be. She was really a champion for not even just women's rights, but just gender rights in general, which is really commendable. She wasn't a feminist in the sense of like wanting women to have everything that men men have. She wanted to make sure that everybody, that men and women all had the same rights as each other. An example of that was there was a case in 1976 where she fought for a frat boy's right to buy beer in Oklahoma because there was a statute in Oklahoma that women under 21 could buy beer because they were seen as more responsible drinkers. And she fought against that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like she wasn't just like women's rights. She was her stance was that men and women should all have the same rights. Like she also fought I believe a college or a nursing school that wouldn't allow men. She fought them to allow men to be admitted in the nursing program. She was just overall a really great person, and either side of the aisle you are, Democrat, Republican, wherever you are, like you can't, like I don't see how you could think she was a bad person. Like she was just an outstanding person in general. She was just an example that every American should follow her lead or her path. I believe that she set. She's a great person, great justice, great symbol for everything.
Yeah, for sure. My girlfriend was saying too that like you before her, like you wouldn't be able to buy a house if you didn't have like a man co-sign it with you, or like you couldn't have a credit card if like a man didn't sign up for it too, and like other stuff with like bank accounts. And it's just kind of wild to even think about that. But she was just such a pioneer in those gender, like I guess gender discrimination. But like as you're saying, she was also like for males, buying beer or something. So she didn't really just play it like, oh, like we're gonna tilt this more for women. It's just like gender, like this gender neutrality thing, which is super awesome. And I just felt like she always, and maybe this is true with like typical Supreme Court justices, but like at least when you saw like Kavanaugh through like his whole judicial hearings, he just looked like a maniac, and I just feel like like RBG is just like this like calm, like respected person that really just reads the Constitution at like face value and just kind of interprets it from there instead of just being like a staunch like conservative and staunch or like a very liberal judge, because I think she wasn't like when she became a judge, she wasn't supposed to be like this very liberal left-leaning judge. She just kind of, that's the way the tide turned or something. Because she, I mean, 1993, it's Bill Clinton. Like he's not like this complete like progressive candidate. Like he worked very well with like Newt Gingrich, and he tried to. I think he did that like Contract for America thing that was kind of just like corporations just not paying or paying less taxes and other stuff like that. So like she didn't come from this like I guess more like Obama nomination. But I guess I don't know. The thing that really pissed me about this, and I knew this was gonna. I think everyone knew this was gonna happen right away. Was just like Republicans would do anything in their power to get their judge in as fast as possible, which I think Trump today said that he's going to make a live event on Saturday, which is just another disgrace of just how terrible this thing is, because he's basically making this like another episode of The Apprentice. And like obviously you all point to the 2016 nomination of Merrick Garland, that Mitch McConnell refused to bring it to the floor, even though the nomination was on March 16th, which is 8 months before the election.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and like they're trying to say like, oh, like we have a Republican Senate, we have a Republican president, we can do this now because like, we can pass it, and it's like you could have at least brought it to a vote and then said no. Like you could have, if you had the votes, Mitch, you could have done that. But I don't know. He's just
That's absolutely reprehensible what the Republicans are in the Senate are doing right now. Especially what they did in 2016. Not even voting on Merrick Garland just because Obama appointed him and it was in an election year. And there are multiple senators in that year, Republican senators like Lindsey Graham, like his quote is saying like, you can quote me on this. We will not vote to appoint a Supreme Court justice in an election year. You can use that. And it's just like, are you fucking kidding me? And obviously, like you would think, he switched tune this year, like a couple days ago or whatever.
Like
he was like instantly, he was like, oh no, I'm down to vote. Like, it's just, it's vile, it's despicable, it's spineless and it's just like, it pisses me off because you know that they're gonna, like, when they have their chance to appoint a conservative judge or whatever, when they have their president in place, that they're going to take whatever chance that they can to appoint a Supreme Court justice who is essentially there for life, right? Like, that's another thing about it, is that this appointee that they're going to vote on eventually isn't just they don't have a term, really. Like, they're going to be put in the Supreme Court and they're going to be there for the rest of their lives. And I just hate the not double standard, but basically it's just spineless. Like I said, them going back on their word, saying they set a precedent in 2016, basically, that they're going back on now. And there's even less time between now and the election, and it's just like, I can believe it, but I can't believe it. Yeah. At the same time, it's just like, this is like, you'll literally do anything to win, and in politics, it just pisses me off because I just hate that, and I hate the two-party system. I hate all the bickering and fighting between both sides, and all the partisan antics that go on in our government, and it's just so depressing and frustrating and demoralizing, because it just like makes me hate the U.S. government and politics in general. But I have to know about this stuff, because if I'm not, I'm being ignorant, and like, I can't just vote not knowing things that are going on, like what my vote means and everything.
Yeah, that's a great point. Where it's frustrating, but you gotta stay ahead, kind of thing. I don't know. I didn't think I clicked on the link, but I think like Murkowski from Alaska said she would delay a vote, or at least vote no. And I think Collins was too, but I don't know about her, because she's in election year. She's probably gonna lose to Gideon out of Maine. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I feel like Mitt Romney will also vote no, but then at that point, I think it's 40. You're still at 50.
They need four Republicans to say no.
And
If all the Democrats say no, which they probably will, but they need 4 Republicans to switch sides and say no in order to not confirm a nominee. And because if 3 say no, only 3, it's a tie, and then fucking Mike Pence gets the final vote.
Yeah.
To decide, and obviously he's gonna say yes.
Oh, for sure.
That dude doesn't stand for anything except trying to electrocute gay people
and take away abortion rights.
This
judge most likely will want to do.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I just feel like we're gonna see what happens. They're gonna push this judge in, right? They get their 5-4 majority, or even. See, even it's probably like 6-3 now because what's his face? Roberts is more of a conservative judge. He's just kind of swing votes, but how are you gonna be a swing vote when it's the minority was W4, or I guess the progressive side? So like we're gonna go vote election day. Trump is probably gonna take the lead like that day, just because there's got to be a lot more mail-in voters who are Democrats, just because they like believe in mail-in voting, and Republicans are just don't think it's like a fraud at this point. So like, and then as the week plays out, like you'll see all these mail-in votes come in, and hopefully Biden takes the lead, or like, and then he wins that way. It's just like it's gonna have to go to the court at some point because Republicans are gonna say it's a sham, you know. Democrats are going to say that, like, oh, no, this is legit. And it all depends on how close it is. Like, if it's within those, like, 500 votes in Florida, that completely swings an election. Like, that's different than, like, oh, like, this state was close, but, you know, Trump won by 50 or Biden won by 50. It really doesn't matter. So I just feel like I see it where it does come to the court, and because they got this person in, it's going to lean towards Trump, and I'm just terrified of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it says a lot, too, that they're trying to rush this through, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it says a lot that they're like, okay, Ruth Gator Ginsburg just died. Like, okay, let's try to get someone in right now, because I feel like they feel the pressure. Like, they feel like they know that Trump might lose the election.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, God, we can't let this go to Biden. We can't let him pick anybody for Supreme Court. We need to get this like done right now. Like they're trying to rush the shit out of this.
Yeah.
And to me, that's kind of like the silver lining is that they feel pressured to have to do that, but it also just, I mean, and another thing is that this is the president appointing a judge to the Supreme Court. That's within his power, which is fine. But the precedent that was set in 2016 was that in an election year, a president should leave it to the next president or to the election after the election or whatever. And they're like just completely reversing on that.
Yeah. And it would be one thing like if it was the same timeline. And if it was March, and it'd just be like, okay, like, it is... Actually, no, you'd probably still see the same backlash. But, like, it's better... It would be better if you had 6 more months than, like, this is, like... The debate's going to happen in a week. So it's, like, we're right in the thick of things of the election. You can't really not think about it right now. So, I don't know. It's just... It's so much worse. But, yeah, I was going to... kind of end. I guess just to be more positive though is if the Democrats do take the Senate, which like they might not, but they totally could. They could kind of get rid of this filibuster thing, and then they could add more judges. So that's like an avenue to go down if they do get this judge through. The problem with that is at that point you could just add 2 judges like every presidential or every president. And you get to the point where you have like 50 Supreme Court judges. That might just be weird now, maybe not in the future. And maybe if you just had more eyes on it, that's better for society. I don't really know.
It could be, yeah. I mean, I could see that, just having more opinion on the matter, more people's opinions on the matter that can vote on it.
Yeah.
It could be a good thing instead of having just a few. Because right now, I mean, there's only, 9 Supreme Court justices, and how many people are in the U.S.? Like 300-something million? Like, that kind of representation. It's not, not that they represent us, but, like, they have so much power that, like, one pick means so much, and that's why this nomination and them trying to get someone else in the Supreme Court matters so much, because there's so much power in having one Supreme Court justice added by the president.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that could be an avenue, though. Like you said, I've seen people mention that, though, that if the Democrats win, that they can add more justices, so that, this might not matter in the future, but right now it matters a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot. So
it's very important.
Got to keep eyes on this situation as it comes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think that wraps it up. You got anything else to add on RBG or just sports in general? Or
I was gonna say, in politics, I saw a Reddit post that Bloomberg is paying for like 21,000 felons or something in Florida.
Oh,
they're paying their fees so that they can vote, which is like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Use your money for good.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's awesome.
Instead of like fucking like 600 million in ads for yourself.
Just thrown away. I mean, that dude's like loaded. Like, you saw all those memes, or I guess not memes, like graphs of like how much he's worth versus Donald Trump, who's already a billionaire.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that dude is just loaded to
but I'm like,
no extreme.
That's good, especially because, like, I don't know, I don't think felons, especially if you're out of jail, you should be able to vote, right? Like, if you're not in jail, you should be able to vote, but clearly that's not the case in Florida, and I'm sure some other states have rules like that as well, but it's like suppressing the vote in a sense, because they're like, oh, you went to jail for this, you can't vote, you can't voice your opinion anymore in votes because you gave that up by going to jail. And we all know there's issues with the judicial system and the prison system and everything. So, I mean, I just think that's generally wrong to strip people of rights even after they've paid their time in jail. So, I think that's a really good thing that Bloomberg is helping people with. So that's commendable.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great. I do think it's kind of bullshit that they have to pay a fine. Like, they have to pay more money.
Yeah, it's suppression. Voter suppression.
But, like, I think there's other states where it's like, if you're a felon, you just can't vote anymore. Like, you can't pay a fine, like, and then be able to vote. You just can't do it, which is just awful.
Which is also wrong. That's so wrong.
Like, they pay taxes. They have to go to work eventually. So,
exactly.
Like,
they even have harder times finding jobs.
Exactly. So
if they secure a job, like,
it's just bad because they're still American. They still, like, everyone has opinion on politics and everyone has a right to vote, even if you did something in your past that wasn't good. And also, like, what if it was, like, wrong? What if they didn't deserve the felony? What if it was just like some...
Yeah, I mean, like, some people get pressured into pleading guilty, and that could screw up the rest of it. But that could screw up the rest of their lives, with at least with like voting and getting a job.
Yeah, absolutely. So let felons vote. I don't think it's that difficult or anything.
Agreed.
All right, well, I think that wraps it up. Thanks, Joe, again, for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Please rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Snowflake Sports. Have a good one.